Hello and welcome to my 6th episode in my series of electronic tutorials. In this video we're going to be talking about capacitors, and more specifically we're going to be going over the definition of a capacitor, explaining to you what a capacitor is and the different types that are commonly found throughout the world of electronics. So let's get started. Alright, so let's go over the definition of a capacitor. So a capacitor is something that does not allow the DC current to flow through. Instead, it consumes or accumulates the voltage inside of it. Now, a capacitor basically charges itself like a battery with this voltage and releases it accordingly. In the world of electronics, there are two main types of capacitors, and those are the two we're going to be going over right now. So the first type is ceramic, and usually it's disc-shaped or in the color yellow. And then the second type is an electrolytic, which is any color, and usually it's like a can-shaped tin can. So for the ceramic, it stores relatively low charge. So like I mentioned before, capacitor stores the voltage, and so the ceramic one stores relatively low charge compared to an electrolytic, which stores larger charge. Now, aside from that, these two capacitors have more differences as well, which we're going to go over. So basically, there are the ceramic capacitor has no polarity, and basically you apply negative voltage to either side, and the electrolytic one has polarity, so you have to connect it in a certain way. Otherwise, for ceramic, there's no specific way to connect it because it works on either side. Since both capacitors have differences in polarity, it's important to notice the difference in their schematics, which basically ties up to my previous video on schematics. So on the left, you can see there's one schematic, and basically these lines represent the plates inside of a capacitor, and this is what stores the voltage. And the left one is basically saying that there's no specific polarity, while the one on the right, the one on the left is more general for like typical capacitors, and the one on the right is stating that on the curved side, on the curved line side, it's going to be more negative than the other side. So you need more negative charge on that side. So basically, this is what separates the polar and the more negative capacitors. Alright, so capacitors are a really important part of electronics, so I hope you understood them in the video. As always, you can leave a question in the comments or email me. It's going to be on my website. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and this is basically a rundown of capacitors.